to another Star Wars Rebels episode review. My thoughts on the two-part episode, which is The Ghost of Geonosis, which features the character from Rogue One, Saw Gerrera. Saw Gerrera, of course, being, Forrest Whitaker's character in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. And, of course, Saw Gerrera, he was a character that was introduced in Star Wars The Clone Wars. So, we're kind of seeing him back in animation. And in these two-part episodes, he was voiced by Forrest Whitaker, which I found very cool. And I like how it ties it all together because, in this two-part episode, we do see a hologram of Bail Organa, who was not voiced by Jimmy Smits, but by Phil Lamar, I think. So that's where I do like seeing Star Wars characters voiced by their, the actors who portray them in live action, whether it is James Earl Jones voicing Darth Vader in the show, or Forrest Whitaker, or whatever. In this episode, I really like how Saw Gerrera doesn't feel out of place in this show. Because Saw Gerrera, to me, in Rogue One, he felt like it's like such a drastically extreme character compared to what we see in Rebels. Given this is a couple years before Rogue One, and of course, he's still bald and not all all fuzzy haired, but I did like seeing him, and we see that extreme side of him come out at times, and I really did like seeing his interactions with Rex, with Kanan and Ezra, because he hasn't fought with any Jedi since Anakin and all of them in the Clone Wars, and even then that was only for a brief period. And I like how this episode, again, kind of like what I said in the last episode, that it's kind of tying everything together with, it's tying in the Clone Wars and also Rogue One. So it's like setting up certain characters, setting up his characterization for Rogue One, while also reminding you of what happened in the Clone Wars with his sister. And I thought that was a cool thing that they did. And another thing that this episode kind of tied into episode 2, which is Attack of the Clones, which is honestly my least favorite of the Star Wars movies. I did have a lot. There were things established in the movie that I liked, like story aspects that I liked. It's the execution, because I found Hayden Christensen's performances in that movie was bad. The writing, a lot of dialogue was bad. But I did like the Obi-Wan Kenobi and Jango Fett stuff. I did like the Count Dooku stuff for a bit. The Geonosis stuff was different and cool at the time. But as I get older, it's just hard for me to really get sucked into the story, because the writing and the direction weren't all that great, to be honest. But it did set up, that's the thing with the prequels, they did set up a cool and interesting newer look into Star Wars that we hadn't seen in the original trilogy, due to lack of proper technology to expand the universe. So that's one thing I did like about the prequels, that it expanded the universe and shows all these different worlds that we didn't see in A New Hope or Empire or Return of the Jedi. So going back to Geonosis in this, even though we didn't see too much of it necessarily, I did like seeing how they kind of humanized the only Geonosian in this, Click Clack. And I did like how, that was what kind of made Saw Gerrera show his extreme side, was he sees the Separatists as just, he sees things as like black and white. There's, the rebellion, or he sees himself as doing the right thing, and then there's the Empire. So he sees it's a good versus evil, and that's all he sees. And if you're not with them, then you're almost against him in some aspects. One thing I kind of wish they did, I feel like they could have mentioned it if they wanted to, was we find out that Saw Gerrera, at least in Rogue One, he did raise Jyn Erso for a little bit. So I was kind of hoping there would be a line that had some sort of nod to Jyn Erso, or Ezra being like, "Oh, you remind me of a girl that I knew," or something along those lines, to get some sort of an Easter egg for Rogue One. I mean, I get it; it's fine. They don't have to do that, considering Dave Filoni is he's talked about doing an episode of Rebels from. And I haven't really had the chance to really talk about this yet, but in Rogue One, I've seen it 3 times, and there's so many Rebels Easter eggs in that movie that I'm glad they did. They had the Ghost was in several shots in the movie. Chopper was in it, and then of course over the announcers towards the end of the movie, while they're on the Yavin base, you hear General Syndulla report. General Syndulla report. Sorry, I'm like slurring my words here, but I found those Easter eggs so cool, and to know that at least Chopper, the Ghost, and Hera make it through the show. we don't know about Sabine, Zeb, Kaden, or Ezra, but to know that Hera makes it and Chop makes it, I did like knowing that. And I do want to see Rogue One from their perspective once we get to that point in the show. And I hope we get to that point in the show, because the show, I mean, Dave Filoni said he didn't say for sure that that's what they're gonna do, or at least I don't think so. He was kind of vague in his response when I was first reading it, when it was the story came out that he was talking about it. But I really hope that they do that. But to get back in the episode, I did like how they have the young Imperial officer lady who's commanding the smaller Imperial ship. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. And how she was being a little hot-headed, and she saw this as an opportunity to get her and her crew promoted. So she made some really rash decisions, very not smart decisions, and trying to kill the rebels and all that stuff. And obviously the crew knew that right away. And you see them, and they easily take them out. And the action in this two-part episode was great. I love the characterization of Saw Gerrera and his relationship with the crew, and how seeing all the tension there was. I found this episode really cool because it tied into the Clone Wars, it tied into Rogue One. Not too much, but having the character of Saw Gerrera voiced by Forrest Whitaker there, I thought was really cool. I'm sorry, I'm like almost I've had bad problems all day, so I'm like struggling to like get my thoughts out cohesively. But overall, I thought this two-parter was great because this was like the mid-season premiere, so I'm almost caught up. Just a couple more episodes to go. I do leave for work in a little over half an hour, so I doubt I'll be able to get those two out. But I'm glad I got this two-part episode out, because this is the one I was looking forward to the most. There's a couple more episodes that I have left. There's Warhead and the Trials of the Darksaber, I believe, is the other one. The Darksaber one is the one I'm looking forward to the most, because I've heard a lot of good things about that episode. So I'm really looking forward to that. So I think with that being said, that's going to be it. What did you guys think of this episode? Sound your thoughts in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button as I try to finish the show and try to get caught up. And you guys can also check out my other videos. Supergirl comes back tonight for all the DC fans out there. So that I get home from work at around 10:30, so the review should go up around midnight-ish. So you guys can check that out. I'll try to finish Rebels sometime in the next couple of days. And yeah, you guys check out my other videos as well. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, have a good one.